Hello and welcome to Kirsten's Cove. Today is a very special day because for the first time, I am going to have a guest here on the channel. After I saw the authors talk at Emerald City Comic Con about how they create their books, their process, their all of it, it was so drastically different that I wanted to talk to one of my friends, Kenzie, who is an up and coming author. She just finished her first book. She's working on more. And I wanted to kind of get her perspective as someone who's a little bit newer to this, but also who's a fantastic author. All right, let's do it. Hi, and welcome.
Hi.
How you doing today?
Fine. I'm doing good. I'm excited. Excited to
Mhm.
do this.
Oh, you're gonna do great. No worries at all. So I already kind of mentioned that you've finished your first book, but you're working on some other stuff. So my first question
hmm
to you is, how do you come up with your book concepts?
Oh, Kirsten. So I was telling my friend the other day that I wish my brain would just focus on a singular plot and just run with it, but I get new plot ideas all the time. When I was younger, it was often like I had an idea of a scene and that was what I would write. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm done. Like I did it, I got it out of my system. And now it's more, I will be really into a certain type of media, like a book that I'm reading or a show that I'm watching, or just a fandom in general that I'm really into. And I will go down the fan fiction route, and there will be things I feel like are missing, like things that people aren't like looking at, or character relationships that aren't getting looked at, or like what if this had happened, how would that have changed everything. And then I take that, and I used to write fanfic and would just like take that idea and run with it. But then I started being like, if you change the names, maybe change the world, you have a book. Like you have a completely original idea that's just influenced by other things. And that was so much easier for my brain to comprehend and run with. So I am one of those people that started out with a fan fiction and then would be going a different route. But yeah, I wish I would just focus on one idea though, instead of a bunch.
So you have a few ideas currently going.
Yeah, yeah.
How many are you at at
While
this
trying
point?
to edit the one I just finished.
How many are you currently at?
I would say, hmm, every time I'm like, oh, that's the number, I'm like, oh, wait, but there's this one. I would say five like big ones that have like beginning, middles, and ends for that I think. But the one I'm currently working on now is the one I had the most on, so I went with that. There was a book before the one I finished that I had started, and I abandoned it to do, or not abandoned. I will come back to it, but it just wasn't calling to me as much. So I did walk away from it. And honestly, I'm glad I did because I now have new ideas for that one. But yeah, I have five. I would say five right now that I actively have like Google Docs for, with like little plot points or like some stuff written for it. Um,
So that brings me to my next question. What does your prep look like for a book? So you mentioned that you have Google Docs for these with different plot points. What
Mhm.
what does prep look like for you?
Oh, so prep. I make a Pinterest board of vibes, because I need to see it and feel it and get inspired for it. I also will make playlists either for the characters or just for the book in general. Um, so if you ever want to know what I'm writing, you just go to my Spotify and you'll find out what I'm writing because I don't try to hide the titles whatsoever. But I do that like aesthetic based. It helps me visualize things. It helps me get a feel for characters. There's so much energy I put into developing characters that you'll probably never see in a book. But if I was ever to do like an author meet and greet, if someone asked me a question like, "What's their favorite food?" I'd be like, "Oh, I got you. I can tell you exactly what it is and where they would go to get it." So yeah, I do create like a Pinterest board and a Spotify playlist or a couple Spotify playlists, and then I do need someone to soundboard off of. I can't just sit and stare at an empty thing and suddenly have an outline in front of me. I have to outline first. If I don't outline, I'll just keep being like, oh, this would be a cool scene, writing it, and then nothing ever goes together. I have to have an outline. There are some writers that don't. I need one, but I need someone to ask me questions to get there. So usually I have my friend Keto. We'll have a write night where I'm like, this is my idea. These are my vibes. How do I make it a book? And she'll go, well, what's this? What's that? What's this? And it helps me flesh out the storyline. Who are the characters? Where are they? What is the goal of the book? How do the characters interact? Are there romantic relationships? Are there platonic relationships? What's the overall genre of the book? And then I usually have character bullets for each character. I have a rough outline that I break up into separate parts. So like part one is this, part two. My book that I finished is 8 parts. I can refer to it. It's called To Be Determined. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, at some point. But so To Be Determined had 8 parts just because we were like, 8 sounds good. And we broke it up into 8 parts, and there's sub bullets of what happens during that section. And as I write, I change the color of that text. So it's like, oh, check, I've done that. Check, I've done that, which is also nice because I like less lists and checking things off. But it depends on the type of book too, because now what I'm working on now is a trilogy. So there's a lot more to go into that. There's world building and things like that. So now I have the different, I don't know what to call them, like sectors or countries. I have different things for them. What are their customs? What are their language? What is their like primary exports? What's their government? Like things that might not even come up, but I feel are important to flesh out. So I know what I'm talking about when I write it, and I don't come up with a bunch of plot holes. Ooh, I hate a plot hole. I hate it.
I know that you how much you hate potholes. So what's it been like? So I know To Be Determined is a little bit more of fiction romance, not
Mhm.
fantasy. So what's the
Mhm.
difference been? What has the difference been from going from like a romance book to a fantasy-esque book now?
Honestly, To Be Determined is a very surprising book for me to have written in a lot of different ways. um, One, because it's fairly lighthearted. There's heaviness in it and like woven in between it. There's heaviness, but a lot of
Gonna
my books
say
have like either
lighthearted. The bits I've read are oh.
yeah, I know. I send you like the most heartbreaking lines where I'm like, oh my goodness. Um, but no, I often have books that I know the endings for almost all of my books. When I set out to write them, I'm like, I know how I want it to end at least. And I know how I want it to start, and it's that middle stuff that I'm like, I'm not sure how we get there. But I want to tell this story, and I want it to end this way. And a lot of my endings are either like a breath, like it's not extremely happy and it's not extremely sad, but it's life. It's like it's realistic, or they're tragic. Or they're just like life sucks sometimes and like you don't get your happy ending. So the fact that To Be Determined exists is hilarious, and I always joke that like if I do end up like getting it published and having readers, they'll read my first one and be like, oh my god, I feel so great, and then they'll take my second one and they'll be like, oh, kind of sad, okay, but like she's changing things up, all right. And they get my third one and they're like, okay, you lied to us. You don't write happiness at all. You write sad things. We've been duped. Um, but I honestly really like going to the I'm a huge fantasy reader. I love fantasy worlds, but I'm very picky about fantasy worlds. I am the person who will like find plot holes very easily and go, well, what about this? Why this makes this plot point redundant or it doesn't work. Um, so I enjoy going into that realm. I'm a huge like sci-fi fan, fantasy. Some of my favorite series have always been like Star Wars and Marvel and just like making life more fantastical. So I love that. I always said I would never write a fantasy book though because I couldn't world build. It just seemed too daunting. But again, because I usually do things based on uh, a fandom that I was already a part of, and then changing it completely, it helps my brain just organize it because it feels less big. It's not like you're starting from scratch. Art is never really starting from scratch. You're always building off of someone else's work. I mean, a lot of common stuff, or not common, popular stuff right now is based on like Greek myths,
Mhm.
which is we're just basing art off of other art and doing retellings, which is great, and no one ever gets sick of it, honestly. Um, so yeah, I feel like I'm talking so much, but get me going
Good,
on a
good,
topic
good.
that I like, and I'll keep going. But yeah, it's very fun. I also worry that if I ever were to get a publisher, they'd be like, you can't have so many genres. Like you need to pick one. But romance exists in all of my books, so um, I'll just say that.
I mean, the big reason that I wanted to do this video for this week was last week I got to go to ECCC and go to a
Mhm.
Rise of Romanticy panel, and Rebecca Yaros was on it and was talking about her shift from writing contemporary romance books to
Yes.
writing her first fantasy novel, because Fourth Wing is her first
Mhm.
fantasy book. And so she was talking about how she writes her books. And it is the most detailed. Like she starts with like ideas on an index card, and then she takes colored post-it notes for different plot points of like green is romance and war is blue, and hint Easter eggs for later things are orange, and then she like lays them all
Mm.
out. And if like one side or one chapter has too much orange, then she shifts it so that way like it's like
Oh,
equal
cool.
balance. I was like, man, okay. But she talked a lot about switching to a different genre and what it's been like, and she didn't think that she was going to be able to do it, and obviously Fourth Wing took off, and
Blew up.
yeah,
Yeah.
people loved it. So that was a big part of like her conversation of you can definitely have more multiple genres, that it's
I would
okay.
lose everything. I would lose everything if I did physical copies. Like what she's doing with the index cards, I would just like be like, "Where's my blue number 2? Like where is it?"
She
And
has a whiteboard that she like, it's all
yeah,
like taped up on her whiteboard.
I do something similar just online where there are text colors based on, and I have a sub spot that'll be like parallels in giant letters. And then, I mean, for to be determined, there are a bunch of song lyrics. So I was trying to relate songs back to each other with little Easter eggs in there. But sometimes I reread my stuff and I go, wow, that was a parallel and I didn't even mean it. Like I didn't even write it to be that way. And wow, this is great. Or I like planted that seed so early on that I forgot about it. Um, so sometimes your brain just does it itself. I should probably be a lot more organized right now for the new trilogy. Oh my god, the Google Doc is all over the place. Where I'm just like, here's a thought, here's an idea,
If it
throw it
makes you feel
here.
better, one of the other authors on that panel said she does not plan anything except like
I
a
could never.
basic idea, and she just goes and the characters go wherever they want to go. Another one said that she sees it in her head as a movie and she storyboards it, and then she
Yes,
writes out like her like storyboard, almost like she almost starts it as like a movie and then goes into a book. And I was just like, oh
I
wow.
relate to I relate to movies a lot during. I think that's why I like the music so much and the Pinterest boards to make it visual. I'm a visual learner, so I think that helps. But I'm always like, what would this look like as a movie scene? And then I'm like, okay, now I have to write it like that, but still make it a book and readable. There's a lot of imagery in my books for sure. To the point where I'm like, okay, but you don't need to describe in this detail. Like right now, I'm trying to cut to be determined down because it's too long. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to get rid of this part. It's not necessary to the plot, but it's so pretty. It's so pretty.
I mean, you could always create like bonus chap like stuff that like you really like and create it as like
That
bonus
is definitely a
chapters.
thing. I have like little mini storylines that I had all fleshed out and just don't fit in the main storyline that I want to go back to. And there's one character in To Be Determined that I think could do a spin-off because he's pretty intriguing and he's very different from the main cast. And you meet him later in. His name is Zach, and he's a fun one. And I just think he's not usually a main character, and I do like those people to explore. I like looking at like my trilogy right now is looking at someone who's not the chosen one and isn't the main character, but where is their role play in this? So yeah, getting off topic. Sorry.
So that's perfectly okay. So with the kind of like spin-off idea, it's kind of similar to those like standalones in a series type books, do you think that that's something that like you would ever do? Do you like those types of books or like types of series?
I do. I just when I first read, I don't think To Be Determined I could do a spin-off where the same cast of like it wouldn't be about the band. It would have to be about some of those side characters I created, and I didn't create a lot of them. There's three. There's three. And I think only one of them could hold up a whole novel. Um, but I would definitely those other two make them all be besties. They'd be a little trio because I think it's very funny, different personalities. Um, but yes, I do like those kind of books just where they fit. Because sometimes I feel like people force it, and I was like, I didn't really want to read this, or like I liked that character, now I don't like that character because I almost know too much about them. But sometimes I really want them, and authors don't do them. So I only started entertaining the spin-off idea once I finished the book, and I was like, oh, I just love this one kid, and I wish I could talk. I just wish I could give him more. He deserves more.
I feel that. So when you are writing your characters, do you ever put any of you or your experience into your books?
Oof, yeah. Like to the point where sometimes I'm not even trying to, and then the plot line ends up that way. Yes, every single one of them probably has a piece of me, and the more main character they are, the more I think I like writing when I'm like upset or sad too. So sometimes I've written my most like heartbreaking stuff because I'm going through something in the moment. I'm like, you're gonna feel it all. It's on you now. You'll be my therapy. Thank you so much, Lucas. Thank you so much, Sam. Like whoever I'm writing about. Um, yes, they take a little bit of me, and it sometimes I read it back and I'm like, ouch, like where did that come from? And then I'm like, oh, it's my own personal experience. So yeah, they all mostly with what they deal with. It's never I usually they're like positive traits are the ones that I always wish I saw myself as. And then those more negative traits that I see in myself or things that I've dealt with more are things I work through my characters. And then their positive traits like Kala and To Be Determined is like a badass and super cool, friendly, everything. And doesn't let anyone tell her what to do. And I'm like, ah, I love that. I would love to be that. So she's my I attain to be you, but she also deals with like her parents not um wanting her to be safe, like taking the safe option. They don't want her to be in a rock band. They want her to be safe and like do the safe, smart choice. And I can relate to that. So we like worked through that with Kala. Obviously, she has a different story than I do. I don't want to be in a rock band, but yeah, they all have little pieces of me.
Okay, so I something that I want to do in interviews as I do more of these is play a game. So we're gonna play a game.
Okay.
Um, we're gonna start off kind of easy. It is we're gonna first play like an either or, and then it's gonna go more like word association. And so don't
Okay.
think about it, just immediately answer. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna start with like either or. So you'll get two options and just immediately pick which ones that you would do. Okay. Handwriting or typing?
Typing. It's just faster. My brain works too fast.
Read or write?
Ah.
Come on, quick. First.
Right. I guess you can't read and not write, but you can't write without reading. But write, I guess.
Plot or character driven?
Mm. Character driven was my first initial thought.
First or third person?
Third. I don't like first person. I will read it, but I always it has to drive the plot. There's very few books I enjoy with first person.
Couch or coffee shop?
Ooh, couch. I gotta be in a mood for a coffee shop. I get distracted very easily. I'm like person, and then I go. So I really want to do a writing exercise where I'm in a coffee shop and I just pick a person and I write about them. Like I just write a little short story. I think that would be really fun.
That would
But
be
I would go there with a purpose. I can't go there and be like, time to write. I'll get distracted.
it'd be
100%.
fun to go with like a group of people and you all
Yes.
pick someone or pick the same person.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be really cool to compare how different everyone interprets people.
Oh, that would be so fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Romance or fantasy?
Romance. Ooh, I didn't expect that. I also think that I'm a mood reader, so I do think it depends. Right now, I'm reading romance, but yeah, I guess.
Oh, what are you reading right now?
Well, I am reading the. I'm reading a couple things. I'm reading the graphic novels for Avatar: The Last Airbender because they're great, and I'm in an Avatar: The Last Airbender kick. I am reading The Silent Patient because we're doing a book club at work. Yeah, and I'm reading it's the Twisted series, like
Oh,
Twisted
I
Love,
read all
Twisted
4 of them.
Game.
Which one are you on?
I'm on the second one. I think it's Twisted. It's the Bodyguard one. Twisted Games.
That one's that one's my favorite.
Oh, I hate to disappoint you. I'm not. I just not into it as much. I like binged the first one in a day, and this one is such a
It
slower like
gives me Princess
build for
Diary
me.
2 vibes.
It does give Princess Diaries too. I would agree,
I
and
am
I
not
love Princess Diaries too.
a dark romance reader, and the first one gave me very dark romance.
It did.
It was
The
like
plots are a little
it was like a little tearing, and
hilarious.
so like going into the second one was very, it almost felt like a breath of fresh air. It was not dark, where the next two are also
Yes.
dark. And I was just like,
They're all the plot points are honestly like they make me giggle because they're so ridiculous.
yes.
But it's also I enjoy sometimes like when books are so ridiculous, like don't make me think too much. I just kind of want to read it and consume it. And then usually I alternate between like a book like that and then I'm reading things like by like Jojo Moyes who writes a lot more like introspective stuff. So I need a palate cleanser every now and then.
I'm
But yes,
curious.
I just started those because they're on Kindle Unlimited.
Oh yes, that is how I read them. I
Mm-hmm.
am intrigued to see what you eventually think of the Twisted series.
I will see. I'm gonna finish it. I don't usually do not finish books, so
It's and they're good. Like it's the third one wasn't my favorite, or like it was good for me up right into the end. But like they're good. Like I think Anna Huang
Mhm.
writes. I don't know how to actually pronounce her name, but I think that she writes really well. Um, okay, so word association. So now, don't think, and also
Okay.
you can't repeat the words that you say.
So if I said blue for the first question, I can't do it for the second.
Yeah. So think like
Okay.
like in Family Feud, how like the end where they have like the two people go against each other and like you can't repeat the same word that someone else
Mm-hmm.
did. Same idea. To try not to repeat yourself.
Okay.
Okay. Book.
Movie.
Friends.
Mind is blank. Family. my, my mind just kept going friends, and I was like, great, come up with a different word. Family.
You can see it on your face too, just the
Yeah, it's
blank
no
look.
words. I didn't know a single word in the English language.
All right. Right.
Read.
Enemies.
Lovers.
Oh, I wonder what your favorite trope is. Plot.
Whole.
Representation.
Important.
Publish.
Want to. I know that's not a word, but I really that's what came to mind. I want to do it. Goal.
Goals. Okay, that was the end of my. I wasn't gonna put you through too many of them.
Those are fun. Those are fun. I feel like they're a nice little analysis. Apparently, friends, and I'm just like, what is a friend?
Friends,
Oh, now
friends,
I
that
could
is
have
it.
done like friends to lovers.
And
I
you,
don't know if enemies to lovers is my favorite trope.
what do you
I'm
think your
not
favorite
sure.
trope is? What is your favorite trope to read?
Hmm, that's hard. I when I'm reading fan fiction, I really love hurt comfort. I'm a sucker for
Your
someone
heart
gets sick
comfort,
or
that is no
someone.
matter what the book is, it is heart comfort.
I just want a scene. I just want the scene where someone is sick or someone is hurt, and then either the romantic interest or that platonic interest, like the older brother character or the big little sister character, whatever, takes care of them. And it's just, I love it. It just makes me feel all warm inside. Now, don't Google what does that mean psychologically, because I have gotten called out on TikTok before about why you love that, and I just don't want to talk about it. Um, I love rivals to lovers. I like enemies to lovers, but I want it done a certain way.
Mm.
Because I don't want this guy is completely toxic, but I love him anyway. I don't want that. I like more we're on opposing sides, but we've found this middle ground and like maybe we're not that different after all. That's more what I want. And then I like rivals to lovers because that's just fun. Unless it's you're most likely not toxic in that way. You're more just your rivals. You have like um divine rivals. Yeah, divine rivals is rivals to lovers.
So then what's your favorite
Um
trope to write?
ooh, don't know. Hurt comfort is in all of them that I've seen thus far. And not on purpose. Not on purpose. It just happens. It's not like I go into a book being like, I'm gonna write X, Y, and Z tropes. I do love, I love a grumpy sunshine. That might be my favorite one to write. I love a grumpy sunshine. I love a um grumpy, but I'll smile for you, and it's a rare thing. That's so cute. Um, yeah, I like opposites. I don't know if I have a favorite trope to write because I don't write based on tropes, but they do end up appearing in my books because they just happen. But I don't write fueled by a trope. Like I'm setting out to write an enemies to lovers. That happens, but once I come up with the plot and I'm like, oh, there it is, it occurred. But in To Be Determined, I think they're rivals to friends to question mark. What are we?
All right. All right. Okay, so going to wrap up, what is one book and one TV recommendation that you would give everybody?
One.
One.
Oh Lord. It's like I usually always ask person, okay, what are you looking for? And then I go into my pile. Like you asked for fanfic fiction recs, and I was like, what are you looking for? I have so many I can pull from in my little library. One of my this is hard. I'm looking at my bookshelf right now. For the longest time, never mind. No, I know it. Never mind. I will say for the longest time, I always recommended the Me Before You trilogy and the Crazy Rich Asians trilogy, because I thought they were just really well written books that everyone could kind of enjoy. I mean, Me Before You rip your heart out, but then the other two will like sew it back together. But throw that out the window. I absolutely love Casey McQuiston. They are a fantastic author. I have 5-starred almost all of their books, and I gave a 4.5 star to one of them, but 2 of their books I gave a 5-star. I cannot recommend enough Red, White, and Royal Blue. If you read To Be Determined, which is LGBTQ, you can see not that I was like copying her or them in any regards, but that I was like, I love you, Casey. Notice me, please. I love you. Casey is absolutely phenomenal. They are an insanely talented writer. I have not felt that way after reading a book in a long, long time since I've read Red, White, and Royal Blue. And I feel like I've been in a reading slump since reading everything Casey has come up with or has come out with, because nothing has made me feel like Casey makes me feel when I read their books. They have a new book coming out in August called The Pairing that I've already pre-ordered. Can't recommend it yet because I haven't read it, but they are amazing. They 100% killed it. I'm I'm completely sure. And they have great LGBTQ representation. Every book has a different type on the spectrum of LGBTQ. Great representation, great way of writing, and I can't recommend them enough. Anyways, I'm sitting here like, what do I want to recommend? Oh, it's the book I always talk about. And then TV show. I'm a very nostalgic TV watcher, so I don't always watch new stuff.
It can be old.
I would say,
It doesn't have
I
to be new.
know, but like everyone's heard of the ones that I would think of. I would say I just finished a documentary. This is heavy, but I just finished a documentary called The Program on Netflix. It's the program and then it has a colon and it has a couple other words after it. It's like cults something. I don't remember. I can't remember all of it. Cults, cons, and something else. But it's basically it's a true story about behavior of basically a cult operating in behavior modification programs where they take troubled teens, they abduct them out of their house and bring them to this place. There was a school in New York actually, where I live but way up north, near the Canadian border. But they're still running today. These programs, some of them have been shut down, but some of them have not. They tell you why that is. They exist all over the world. And it's honestly quite eye-opening, but it's a very well done documentary. There's 3 episodes in it. So I highly recommend you check that out. It's heavy though. I would then go and watch Avatar: The Last Airbender like I did after I watched it. But it's very good. And I think people should watch it and be aware of things that are happening in the world.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And where can we find you?
So currently I'm at Makenzie_Kathleen, Makenzie.
And I will put
There's
it
no
below.
C in my name. Yeah, there's no C in my name. I am going to make an author account, but I want to be closer to like talking to publishers and things like that before I use all the content to try and push. I don't want to like tease people with like, do you want to read this book? It's not published yet. You can't yet. But I might just make like a bookstagram, writergram, where I just do stuff like this. This might even push me to do it. So, and maybe then Casey and Kristen will know we can be best friends because I just love them and they're my idol. Oh God, if I met them, I would just pass away. They're so cool. Anyways, you need to read Casey and Kristen's books.
It's on my shelf.
I know.
I got it.
I know you have it. I just need you to read it and scream about it. I love every time someone reads it. They're like, "You're right. This book is good." I'm like, "I'm not lying. Like this is 5 stars all the way."
Well, thank you very much for joining and being the very first guest on Kirsten's Cove.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And thank you everybody for watching. And I will see you all next week. I hope you keep getting lost in your dreams. Bye.